Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the second video. Today we're taking the Cruisym out. We're gonna take it out on a short ride. I have ridden the previous model, so I'm pretty accustomed to the chassis, to the braking, to everything, but I just want to show you guys what it's like to ride it. We're gonna ride it around the city a little bit and then we're gonna bring it back. Unfortunately, I could not borrow it for a couple of days because it's the last one they have in stock, and it probably in a few days it's gonna go. So let's get on the road and see how it rides. Spicy unit. Also, if you haven't checked out all the previous videos, actually this is going to be the second video. Check out the first video where we have a static walk around and I tell you everything there is to know about this 2021 Cruisym Alpha. After this, we're gonna have a video talking about the switchgear and the dash, and it just shut off because I didn't leave. So we're gonna have a video talking about the switchgear and the dash, and a fourth one talking about the things I like and the things I don't like about this scooter. Links to all these videos after they come out will be down in the video description below. Let's go. Yeah. How about you don't hit the kill switch accidentally? Yeah, that works. Amazing how the scooter runs if you turn off the kill switch. All right, let's get cracking. So what do we have here? We have an almost 300cc single cylinder putting out 26 brake horsepower and 26.2 newton meters of torque. Normal fork up front, double shocks on the back, 2 meter length, 1.5 meter wheelbase. Let's get on the road. The scooter feels quite at home in the city. Although it is a bit on the long side, the thing with it is they haven't made it extra wide. The width is only 0.75 meters, which is right in line with regular scooters. Let me just, okay. Let's punch it chewy out of here. And already up to 50 kilometers an hour. The engine is more than adequate for the weight of the scooter. The weight is 196 kilograms wet and ready to ride. With me on it, we're getting on close to 300. I'll just hang right here because we can open it up a bit and let's see how she rolls. All right, let's get on it a little bit. We're not full throttle because this still is in its braking period, but 60, 70. Let's just get into the position. 80 kilometers an hour, like it's nothing. This will go up to 130, 140 kilometers an hour if you really push it. Let's just slow it down a bit because I don't want the wind noise to be a factor. In terms of maneuverability, the weight being so low, it's actually very, very easy to chuck about left, right, left. It's actually quite fun. You are sitting very low in the scooter. You are protected from the elements with this wonderful windscreen that currently it's on its highest position, but I am looking right above it. But the wind, I have no wind on my chest, a bit of wind. Now this is a bit of a side wind because we're on a bridge, so in case you hear wind, it's a side wind, it's not a front wind. I can feel it coming from my right side. But from the front, you don't have to worry about any wind. my hands are covered by the mirrors. If I raise them up here, I feel the wind. If I keep them here or on the handlebars, I feel no wind at all. Really comfortable to ride. The mirrors, very easy to see behind you because they're so up front. You don't see elbow. You only see what's behind you. You don't see your hands. Okay, this is not a roundabout. We have to yield. That's it. And now we can go. Punch it out of here. Yeah, as I was saying, the wind is not a factor. Today is actually a pretty bad day to demonstrate this because it's very windy. And we have the lake to our right, and we have wind coming from the lake, so a bit sideways. We will get into a bit of a more built-up area in just a few seconds. And now we're back on the bridge. Sorry for the wind noise. Let's just quickly get off this bridge. They're not servo assisted or anything, but sometimes I think they might be. He's turning. That's the power of a 300. Nice and easy, get in line with traffic. People have said about the Cruisym that it's a bit sluggish off the line. Honestly, I have no idea where they're coming from. Let's see, we're doing 40 now. Just kick it, there we go, 50, almost 60. Lean it into the corner. It really likes to lean, this one. It feels very natural. Leaning it feels very natural. Works here. Let's just squeeze by. Thank you. Well, as you can see, the engine is far from being lazy. I don't know where people are coming from saying that it's a bit lazy. Honestly, it's not. Really, it isn't. Let's just see here. Let's just let this car pass. Now I'm not giving it full throttle because it is in its braking period. So half throttle, 30, 40, 50, 60. That was half throttle, okay? That was not full throttle. So where people are coming from that the Cruisym has a bit of a lazy engine or a lazy transmission is beyond me. Because the engine feels perfectly adequate. And now coming back to the Euro 5 thing, it is on paper it's 1 horsepower down to the previous model, but honestly, sitting here, riding it, using it, I can't tell the difference from the previous model. 1 horsepower, the difference is too small and I cannot tell the difference. Now let's have a bit of fun on this roundabout. Let's chuck it in. There we go. Well, she was a bit, yeah, yielding is not. Let's do it again. Leaning it into the corner. It really likes to lean, and it's very stable. Then when you want to come out, throw out a lot of the lean and just power it out. The dynamics are something I really enjoy. I have ridden other scooters, I have ridden other motorcycles. The dynamics of this one, there's something special. There is something special here. And also I have ridden it, the previous generation, the 2020 model. But this shares the same chassis and the same suspension and the same brakes as the previous model. So I have ridden the previous model on mountain roads. It's perfectly adequate, and when you start getting into the twisties and you start using the engine, you start using the brakes, you start using the chassis, they all start tying in together. They work in perfect harmony with the rider. At no point do you feel like you're pushing it beyond its limits. It's very engaging and it's very rewarding to ride a bit faster. It's a bit cheeky in the way it rides. Also, the brakes. Let me just get up to some speed here. We'll say 7. Let's say 70. Check behind us, it's clear. Hazard lights on. And let's throw the anchors. Down to 0. Almost threw me off the bike. Brakes are, we have just a single disc up front, but the brakes are more than adequate for the size of scooter. 196 kilograms is a bit on the hefty side, but it really isn't that much. It's quite manageable, and the brakes are more than adequate. Here I'm just using the front brake, nice and slowly, nice and light, just 2 fingers. Let's punch it out of here. There we go. Using the torque of the engine. Torque is low down at about 5,000 RPM. It makes it usable. You don't have to rev it out to get some acceleration out of it. Let's see, leading into the corner. There we go. On some bumps. Handled it perfectly. Unlike my Symphony, the suspension doesn't feel undersprung. It doesn't bottom out. It handles the bumps while accelerating, while braking, while on the side of the tire in a corner. Beautiful dynamics, and we have an almost crash because people are not paying attention. So yeah, I really love the way this thing rides. SYM has some pretty good riding scooters, but the way the Cruisym, I think probably only the SYM PL, which with its mid-mounted engine may handle better. But in terms of maxi scooters, the Cruisym and its sister scooter, the Joymax, really have a certain way they ride. They have a flow to them. Chuck them into a bend and it feels natural. Power out of the bend, it rises naturally. You might think the wheels are small at 14 on the front, 13 on the rear, but honestly, they just work. That's the thing, it just works. Now we're back into the yard. Also, I want to see some other things. Let's see on some bumps. Okay, so we don't have any squeaking. I will complain about something on the front end in the last video, about the things I like and dislike. But remember, when you watch this video, that now you can't hear anything from the front end. Also, new for 2021, we have traction control. And what does traction control help us? It helps us stay upright on slippery surfaces. Let's say here, a bit of gravel, and we are too enthusiastic with the throttle. Let's give it some beans. As soon as the wheel wanted to let go, it cut the power. Let's see here. Let's say it's wet outside, we're at a traffic light, and we want to beat all the cars next to us so we can go be the first at the next traffic light. But it's wet outside. But we're not careful. We see them, the light turns green, and we punch it. And the traction control keeps everything in check so we don't mess up, we don't make a fool of ourselves, and we don't put our scooter on its side, because honestly, nobody wants to drop their bike, nobody wants to come off their bike. Traction control is a wonderful thing for two-wheeled vehicles. And the best thing about it, you have this button here, sorry, not the horn, you have this button here, hold it in, TCS light comes on, and now traction control is off. So if you want to be a hooligan, or if you need to ride with it off, you can. But let's turn it back on, because this isn't our scooter and I'm not going to be a hooligan. So let me just give you another walk around. Check the video up here when we do a proper walk around. But ending this video, final thoughts on the way it rides. The brakes are perfectly adequate. The engine, with the passenger, it may seem a bit sluggish. On my own, 100 kilograms, it's perfectly fine. It has enough power on the road, enough power in the city, and at highway speeds, yes, you might want a bit more power, but still, it's just a 300. It's not a 400 or 500. There are bigger scooters, bigger engine scooters that are more adequate for highway riding, but it can do it. This will do highway riding, no problem. So, brakes adequate, engine adequate, suspension works very well in conjunction with the long wheelbase. The suspension works very well. It feels natural, it doesn't bottom out, you don't. Sorry about that, battery died on the GoPro. As I was saying, the suspension works very well in conjunction to the long wheelbase. You don't feel any instability, not on the braking, not under accelerating, not in bends, and especially not on bumps. Because the way long wheelbases work, when you hit a bump with your front wheel, it gives it some time. The back wheel being further away from the front wheel, it gives the front suspension time to settle down and leaves the back to handle the bump by itself. If you hit the bump with the front wheel and then immediately the rear wheel hits the same bump, you have both suspension working at the same time. With the long wheelbase, front hits a bump, suspension has time to settle, and then the rear hits the bump, and then it settles also. So it's this difference between the front and the back. And also the spring rates, I really like the spring rate in the back. For me, for my weight, it works perfectly. It's firm but comfortable at the same time. The front end, you can tell it's not a sophisticated suspension. It's just a normal fork, simple forks, but they work, they do the job perfectly. So that has been about it. If I can take it maybe a few more months down the road, if I can borrow one for a longer trip, I'll sure to come back to the riding section. Unfortunately now they are extremely hot, they are extremely desired. The guys here at SYM, they ordered last week or no, sorry, 2 weeks ago, they had 10 of them come in, and this is the last one. And probably by Monday this will be sold, and today is Friday, but I'm pretty sure by Monday evening this one will fly away from the nest as well. So when the man dies down a little bit, maybe we can return to the cruise sim, to the riding part, and take it outside the city, take it on a proper ride. But what I can tell you is, if you're looking for a scooter, a maxi scooter of this size, and you plan on doing city riding and a bit of touring, it's perfectly adequate. It can do them both, and it can do them both very well. Remember to check out the other videos on the cruise sim. They're all linked in the description below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. We're gonna have more reviews, more how-to videos, more trips and tours, and I really hope to see you all again in the next one. Take care out there, everybody, and ride safe. Goodbye.